What's going on, guys? TG or ThunderGod here, and I have probably the most special guest on the channel today. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Swag Kage here.
Yes, and today we have an excellent video for you guys. Today we are going to be kind of swapping around some characters at a certain point in the story. We're going to be replacing Kakashi's squad that took on Zabuza on top of the bridge and Haku. Oh yeah,
my bad. I thought you were passing it to me. You got it.
No, you got that.
So the first team we're going to start with is Team Guy. You know, this is the most straightforward one here. And so this one is probably the easiest one to talk about and break apart, because I don't think any of you need us to tell you that Guy is beating Zabuza in a fight. He might not even need to open the gates to do it, like, handily. If he opens any of the gates, like the first, God forbid, the third or above, like up to, it's typically up to like the sixth gate that like the games and stuff from the part 1 time period give him. So I think you could safely assume that he could at least open the 6th gate here. But even if you cap him at like 4th or 5th, those are just going to be super duper overkill for Zabuza. So when Sasuke first meets Guy at the start of the Chunin exams, Guy just says that he's Kakashi's rival and that he has a slight edge over him, and Sasuke believes him after seeing his speed. So again, like I said, in base, it's pretty easy to argue that Guy would be able to beat Zabuza here. And again, the gates are just like super duper above and beyond overkill for the situation. There's no chance whatsoever that Zabuza beats him. The only thing you could say is the hidden mist, maybe, but we talked about that before the video, and I don't think it would matter. In the 4th war, we see Guy just fighting the other 7 swordsmen in the mist anyway, and he's like totally fine. So I don't think it would hinder his ability too much.
Yeah, honestly, I agree. And if you kind of want like more of a 1-to-1, Guy does just cleanly kick away Kisame. And doesn't really seem that intimidated by him. Kisame consistently stronger than Zabuza, even in like the duration of part 1. So you even have like better showings against a stronger 7 ninja swordsman, a way stronger version, I might add. Guys also like taijutsu or up close is just such a tier above what Zabuza really will be able to deal with. Like, this is the same guy, like, even later on, could just, like, contend with a Mangekyo Sharingan and Rinnegan user in pure taijutsu. Like, if he whips out those nunchucks, it's over. So, like Swag said, like, it's pretty clear-cut that guy should be above Zabuza at this point. Silent killing is really his best asset, but again, like, that happened in the 4 Shinobi War, and Guy's still able to move and fight during that time frame, which kind of, like, mitigates a big portion of Zabuza's advantage. And then, like, basic water style really shouldn't be too much, as Guy could even, like, kick away Gaara's sand that was, like, attacking Gaara or attacking Lee when he was down. Like, he just swats that away. So it's like, you know, Guy is a different breed, even in the duration of part 1. Yeah.
The only question is how many gates he has to open. I would put money on 0, personally. So the next part of the question is how the Haku encounter goes. Now, honestly, Guy could just beat up Zabuza and then deal with Haku himself. But what's probably going to happen, and what would happen if, say, the main characters were Team Guy and not Team Kakashi, is one of them would probably start fighting Haku the same way that Sasuke did, and would end up in a similar position where they're surrounded by the ice mirrors. Now, one thing that I would like to clarify that we both agree on, we talked about this before the video as well, is all of these Genin are going to have a much harder time against Haku, because Haku met Naruto before fighting him on the bridge, and liked Naruto so much that he held back, didn't kill him. It's fairly clear that if he had been going all out from the start, that Naruto was just done. He also seemed to respect Sasuke a little bit for personal reasons. You know, like he was, you know, impressed by Sasuke's ability to go toe-to-toe with him, so he didn't just outright kill him right from the beginning. You know, he felt like a similar energy from Sasuke as like the sole survivor of his clan, that type of stuff. So with Neji is pretty similar to Sasuke in some of these respects. He would definitely be able to perform better than Sasuke did, even because, you know, he is stronger than Lee, who was quite a bit stronger than Sasuke was at the start of the tuning exam. So he would be outperforming Sasuke. So maybe he'd earn some respect for Haku. But I don't think that Haku would keep like slowly chipping away forever, right? The thing is, though, if we assume that Haku doesn't immediately go for the kill, I think that Neji probably has the best matchup against Haku out of any of the other Genin like that we're going to talk about throughout this video, except for one.
Yeah.
Because he has the Byakugan, so he can see Haku like at any point whenever he exits the mirrors. He can use rotation to deflect the incoming Senbon. You know, like that type of stuff, right? He's just really he's built really well for a situation like this. And so I think that he would be able to survive against Haku if Haku fights the same way he did against Naruto and Sasuke for as long as Guy needed to take care of Zabuza.
Yeah, I overall definitely agree. Neji's definitely the most well-equipped. And this is only like exemplified further if you argue that Lee, right? Because we talked about like Neji going to be inside the ice mirrors, but we were also talking about this before the recording. Like Lee probably won't do what Naruto did and just hop in because it's kind of a dumb move. Like it makes a lot more sense to attack from the outside. Like it was the worst tactical move that actually ended up saving them. Irony, but. It's really interesting because you kind of would have Lee, right? And potentially gated Lee. We don't think he'd go into the 5th gate just because the situation doesn't call for it. Maybe the circumstances aren't that severe, I would argue. There isn't as much on the line. Yeah.
I just don't know if he'd even be able to withstand it for more than like the one attack he threw at Gaara. The 4th gate was already tearing his body to pieces internally. So the 5th gate, like staying in it for an extended period of time might just be, you know, way more than he can handle for anything that's not a finishing blow. So it would probably be the 4th gate at most if he opens the gates. I agree.
Yeah. And then you would have that Lee, potentially 4th gate, attacking these ice mirrors from the outside. Now, we were also talking about this before the recording. The ice mirrors are really weird because it's like they don't really have like any scaling, any durability. All we really know about them is that Haku's able to hold them together with her chakra after like so Naruto like roars in his QB when the QB's coming out, like the chakra's blowing everywhere and the ice mirrors begin to crack and Haku's actually like they crack and Haku's able to regenerate them with her his chakra. So when you kind of look at it like that, it's like okay, you kind of have to argue like would he just be able to like regenerate the mirrors as Lee's like going at it with the barrage and then like Lee just ends up one-shotting himself because he ended up like ripping all his muscle fibers like using the gates and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's weird, right? So I guess the only way that you could scale, like you might be able to come up with a way to measure how Lee would perform against these mirrors, and that's to compare Bridge Naruto when he enters his Nine-Tail state to Orange Chakra Naruto from the tuning exams and his fight with Gaara. I don't know which of them is stronger. I'd probably lean towards the Bridge Naruto, though, is the thing, because, like, you know, he has the eyes and the whiskers, and he's, like, totally feral. He also has the fangs.
Yeah.
So, like it seems like he's stronger here than when he's just using a pinch of the Nine-Tails chakra against Neji or Gaara. Maybe you'd be able to argue that he's stronger there because he's actually using it on purpose, but I don't know, because it seems like more of a trump card for him to do what he did on the bridge and enter that like zero-tailed form, because he doesn't use the orange chakra against Sasuke, right? But he does go into this form. So I think that this form was stronger, and it was able to bust through the ice mirror, sure, but like orange chakra Naruto was doing more damage to a lot of people. Hate when you say this, right? But it just is what happened. I get that it's kind of weird, but like orange chakra cloak Naruto was damaging like mini Shukaku Gaara, and Gaara's sand armor was enough to shield him. Not the sand shield, but like the armor of sand that he like attached to his body was enough to shield him from taking serious damage from the 4th gate. So I think that the Naruto that started beating Haku up on the bridge was like probably quite a bit stronger than 4th gate Lee would be. So he might not be able to break the mirrors, but then like at the same time, Naruto just shattered them on contact. Like as soon as he punched them, right? They fell all the way apart. And even just like his sheer aura was enough to start cracking the mirrors and breaking them. So like maybe Lee could do something about them, but I wouldn't feel confident saying he could for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And like Haku, even like taking it a step further, on top of Naruto's wounds healing, which, you know, also to bring up because these characters are not like there is gonna be some damage at play. Haku also does tank a lot of these Naruto. Like he gets flailed around a bit. Even Naruto like smacks him point blank in the face. Like, and he's still able to like fight and like zip across the battlefield and intercept Kakashi's ride carry. So I don't want to say like he's gonna tank like the Gates barrage. That's not what I'm saying. But Haku does display some pretty decent physical dexterity. Like even in the work, if you want to go there, he's able to like block Lee's attack. So it's, you know, there is something to derive there as well. But I generally agree. You know, the Nine Tails chakra that Naruto displayed here, I've always interpreted it as like when the Nine Tails chakra is at too much of a surplus, like that's when Naruto's like physical features start dwarfing and stuff like that. Yeah. And like, you know, the tails start coming out. So the fact that that wasn't present in the tuning exams, like you said, I think it's weaker in the sense there's not as much raw chakra, but it could be interpreted as stronger because he has control over it. So I definitely agree. And realistically, like where we're getting at is that Guy probably should be able to finish up with Zabuza. I don't want to say relatively quickly, but he should have a good time. How quickly kind of depends. Like if you want to say he goes like third gate off rip or something like that. But he should be able to finish up. In which case, Neji and Lee should be able to stall Haku for more than enough for Guy to come in and offer support. In which case, this kind of turns into like Guy plus his 3 Genin versus Haku, which it's not really a fair matchup for Haku. You know what I mean? And you can even argue like if you want to get super out there, right? Like Haku's just remaining in the ice mirror. Guy and Lee could open the gates and just start pummeling the mirrors too if you really want to be out there, which, you know, like that is a little weird to say. But yeah, the bottom line is that Zabuza kind of lacks up a little bit here. Guy is going to be able to go off for support. Guy who should be spirit to the Kakashi that Haku is very comparable to. So I think that's our bottom line. In which case, it seems like Team Guy does walk away with this with a pretty, I don't want to say confident, but it does seem likely that they take the W here.
I would give them like at worst a B plus or like A minus. I would probably lean towards A plus though for their ability to do this. You know, I would say confident 5 out of 5, maybe 4.5 out of 5 that they take it just because of how much of a monster Guy is.
Yeah.
And because his Genin are like we didn't even have to bring up 1010. I mean, now, granted, in part 1, she has no feats in the manga because
off-screen by Tamari.
So, I mean, we don't really know what she would do. Maybe she would be in Sakura's position protecting Tazuna. But, I mean, I think that Lee and Neji would probably do most of the work.
Yeah.
One thing that we can say that's not really relevant to the fight is that I don't think Zabuza gets his little, I don't know if you'd call it redemption, but he doesn't have his introspection at the end where he kind of like saves his own soul and reevaluates how he feels about Haku because nobody there like talks to him the way that Naruto does, right? I think that, you know, the type of person Naruto is and his like I guess it is charisma just because of how honest he is.
Yeah.
Like nobody has that. Nobody would be able to get Zabuza to look at Haku and just be like, it was also partially Kakashi, so maybe Guy would be able to talk some sense into him because of how he feels about Lee. I could see that maybe happening, but I'm not sure. I think that Naruto was like really the like missing piece of the puzzle to make that happen in that situation.
I fully agree. Like the Guy's team has like a real fundamental understanding of how the Shinobi world works. Like Naruto's like an outlier in that universe, like, you know, so that and that's also why like he's such a great MC and like does so well in the series. So yeah, we
better MC than Rock Lee.
Talk about it. It's a little louder for the people in the back. But next, so you know, Team Guy, confident W. Next up, we have Team Asuma. Now, this is this is probably the most complicated one in the whole video. So go ahead and, you know, buckle up, right? Because we have a lot of things to talk about because both the Haku fight and the Asuma fight are like really, it's unclear what would happen. I think that both of them could go either way for sure. Yeah. So starting off with Asuma, pre-established that he's thought to be, you know, him and Kakashi are very near in strength. He should be very relative. He should be very comparable and very fine in this matchup. I don't think like any character is like too fast for him or anything like that. No, the series makes that very clear. We were like talking about this. Asuma's impressive as well, just due to his performance against Kisame. A lot of people overlook this, but he does kind of have like a back and forth with Kisame, where Kisame shreds his arm and then he's able to tag him on or gash the side of his cheek with his chakra blade. So Asuma in close quarters, and even like the Shippuden data books like talk about this, like he's unmatched. Like that's his strongest attribute here, and that's definitely where we see him being the strongest in the matchup. Because ninjutsu wise, he's like he's a little lacking in this match. Do you want to talk about this, like the whole ninjutsu aspect?
Yeah, so it's not that Asuma has bad ninjutsu or anything like that. Like the Burning Ash is really strong,
yeah,
and it's able to like it does a lot of damage to Hidan, which unfortunately, in that situation gets reflected back at him, yeah, right? And all three of his well, they would be tuning at the time, I guess, in the war. All three of his students like do their best to like avoid it. I think this might be Storm only, but I'm pretty sure he just completely like atomizes some Zetsu that Ino takes control of with mind transfer using the Burning Ash jutsu. But again, that might be only in like the Storm QTE. So I don't know, but it's a strong jutsu, right?
Yeah.
The problem is his opponent is a water style user, and he's at a range predominantly fire style based, right? Neither of us could recall any long range wind style jutsu that he uses. So like, I'm not gonna say he doesn't have any, but like we just have to make some up
yeah,
for him to, like be able to use any, right? So we'll probably just lean towards he doesn't have any. He uses his wind chakra for the chakra blades.
Yeah.
And like the other thing about the Ash jutsu is I don't even know if it would work in the mist, because like the mist would maybe, I mean, first of all, it would make the air more damp, maybe make the smoke less flammable. It also might make his blades like sticky or wet or something and make it hard for them to like ignite when they slam together, right? Like it might cause, like, I don't know. But I think that the conditions would mess with the viability of the Burning Ash jutsu. But anyway, like Zabuza could just lob water jutsu at it and be fine. Like I get that, like if you're strong enough, fire jutsu can just like clash with water jutsu, like elemental advantages don't matter a ton once you're at a certain strength level. But like, let's be honest here, like give Zabuza some respect. He's not that much weaker than Zabuza, that if he lobbed a water attack, it would just lose to Zabuza's fire. I think that at best for Zabuza, at best for Asuma, they're clashing. What's a lot more likely is that Zabuza's water attack is going to go right through it and hit Asuma right in the face. And since Zabuza's a mist ninja, and like one of the 7 swordsmen, I think Asuma would know better than to, like, I just don't even think he's going to try fire style here. I think he's going to try to get in close. And like the issue with that is that Zabuza is an assassin who likes to hide, using the hidden mist jutsu and silent killing and all that. So I actually think that would be pretty effective against Asuma. Like I have no reason to believe that it wouldn't be effective. Kakashi struggled to find Zabuza inside of the mist. And he has like a Sharingan. So Asuma doesn't. I think that I'm kind of leaning towards Zabuza here just because he has this, like it's sort of like a counter pick. If it was a straightforward fight, Asuma would just beat him up.
Agreed.
But like if Zabuza plays this smart, he can hide from Asuma, sneak up behind him, cut him in half with the Executioner's Blade. If Asuma gets a clean hit or two in, Zabuza's head is off his shoulders and he dies. But I don't know how likely it is for that to happen.
Zabuza just has a lot of distinct advantages. And it like, again, it'd be like different if like maybe Asuma were in like a higher tier, but it's kind of like, it's almost like an equal stats fight, because like they're at the same level. So it's like
basically
so it's like it's feasible that Asuma could pull away a W. It's just like not as likely due to all these factors. And like even if you wanted to argue like what's that, like the welcoming approach like Buddha that he uses against like Kakuzu and Hidan, like he would need to find Zabuza, which is like, again, that kind of goes back to like his initial point. If he gets close or can like really tag him, that's more so the fight, but that's the main issue here. So, with all that in mind, we definitely see Zabuza coming away more likely. Again, it's possible. We just don't see it as likely for these factors. And then we also have if you kind of look at this, right, we also have his Genin versus Haku. Now we definitely see Choji slash Shikamaru being the ones fighting. I'll say this too. I want to throw this in. If one of those two were kind of, if I'll put it like this, if Shikamaru were the one to be in the ice mirrors, I could definitely see Choji charge it head first into his relationship. Like I could definitely see
Choji loves Shikamaru so much. He would not let him die. I could see, like, what I think would probably happen is Shikamaru would engage Haku or the other way around, and then Haku would trap him in the ice mirrors, and then Choji would be like, no, Shikamaru, and then Ino would be like, oh my god, fuck. And like she would stay behind with Tazuna because she's like level-headed, right? We're not sticking the girls with guard duty just like because they're girls, and it just happens that that's the way like the team dynamics work, bro. I promise, you know. And it won't be like that the whole time. There are gonna be some teams where that isn't the case, so don't worry. But you know, I think that I actually think it's a compliment to Ino here that she's not the one who runs into the mirrors after, you know, Shikamaru, and that it's actually Choji. But this is where the fight gets really, really interesting and dynamic. So I don't think that Shikamaru or Choji, like by themselves in a regular straight up clash, would impress Haku enough or have that same like type of spiritual or personal like essence, right? Like that, like Neji and Sasuke would, to get Haku to respect them or hold back or anything like that. So Haku might just straight up go for the kill immediately, which would be really bad. And if that happens, then I think that Shikamaru and Choji are cooked. Now, that being said, I think that maybe there's a chance that Haku doesn't do that and kind of chips away at them, like doesn't use all of his chakra right away just to make sure that, you know, Zabuza's okay. And like if Shikamaru and Choji have any opening, everybody knows how smart that Shikamaru is. He comes up with plans in like literally every situation he's in, right? He's face down with like 12 Sound Village tuning, and he survives until Asuma shows up. So it's a weird situation because the thing is, like, Shikamaru is just so outclassed stats wise that it's hard to think of a way that he would actually be able to hit Haku. But the idea that I came up with when we were talking about this before we started recording is maybe because of, so okay, they're inside this dome of mirrors, right? And the mirrors reflect light and mirror images of Haku, and that's how Haku is able to jump between them. And the thing is, the mirrors could maybe reflect the shadows on the ground, and Shikamaru might be able to like position them on the ground in a way where the reflection that is like the real Haku, when he starts to jump out of the mirror, gets caught inside of the mirror by shadow possession and is unable to move or something, which I don't know if that's how it would work. I'm just saying that might be something that Shikamaru comes up with. I could see, like, if Kishimoto wrote this fight, that being like, you know, like the crazy ass win con or like draw condition. Or like
Shikamaru like positions him into a certain mirror like he did with Tamari, or like, you know, of course he's like, oh, I was waiting for you to go into that mirror or something like that. Like, so yeah, I definitely agree. Like, I could definitely see something like to that extent. Continue, please.
Yeah, and so the other thing is, you can talk about Choji if you want here. I think Choji might be the MVP of the whole bridge.
Let me talk about Choji. So Choji, I'll start by saying this, or we're gonna be a little generous to Choji here. Assuming that he carries those 3 pills that he used against Jirobo on the during the Sasuke retrieval arc, if he has those, that makes this fight very interesting, because, you know, the green pill definitely, I don't think it would make too much of a difference. You know, it just kind of gives like Choji's burst of energy, allows him to kind of hold base Jirobo and something like that. But I can definitely see a situation where like this might be, because Shikamaru's at life's at stake, this could be warranted. In which case, right, we were kind of talking about it. If he tries the yellow pill, what if he expands himself to like that, like not mountain size, but like that giant size that he does against Jirobo, and like
where he's covering like the whole forest, right?
It's so crazy. Like, what would, like, if he does that, like, there's really no way to say like Haku would be able to contain him, unless you argue like Choji's like fat is like protruding out of like every like crevice in the ice.
Like that. The only way you can argue that this wouldn't work is it's like if like just like there's like weird like fat folds like that are just like protruding outward, but like like he would have to get like crushed to death, right? And not, but like so what I think is more likely is that either the mirrors would just break, especially because it's not like Choji is growing slowly, it's not like the one girl who eats like the blueberry and Willy Wonka, right? Like it's not like, so it's like boom, he turns massive instantly. So I think that like the sudden, like the force of him just becoming large so suddenly might like be enough to shatter the mirrors. Or if you think the mirrors are just that durable, maybe he like pushes them outward or something, and like he forces them to like by increasing his volume, like forces them to like stick to, but like so the thing with this is regardless, unless he gets crushed to death because the mirrors just don't move, like even if he's like stuck and can't grow anymore, the bottom line is that he's filling up the entire space, or the mirrors are breaking, which means that Haku can't use the jutsu effectively anymore. Haku can't jump between mirrors if Choji fills up like the entire ice mirrors. He would probably have to like tell Shikamaru to like jump in his shirt or something.
But pop in my pocket, bro.
Like aside from that, like maybe he just like gulps up Shikamaru's like hard in my mouth or something like that. But like if he uses the expansion jutsu, something's happening that's stopping those mirrors from being functional. Right? So like the other thing that's interesting, and you can take this if you want, is the red pill, which is like that 100 times boost is crazy.
Oh my god, dude. This is crazy. Like this is essentially like what Choji achieves in the war arc. Basically trading caloric intake for chakra. He gets like the 100 times multiplier. Butterfly wings, he's like clapping up version 2 Jirobo. And this is crazy for a couple of reasons, because you kind of have to like discuss like Choji versus that Naruto, but like and the byproduct of this is you have to ask yourself, is that like like QB Cloak Zero Naruto, is that 100 times amp? I would say probably not. I don't think so. I don't think.
And the other thing too is it's like, don't ask whether or not, like, oh, but Naruto might be stronger in base than come on, bro, like be serious. Naruto's base stats at this point are terrible. His only usable asset in combat is just making a bunch of him and like just trying to throw like just like whack uncoordinated punches at people until he gets better. So Naruto's base stats are terrible, and he goes from like not being able to do anything, being a non-factor in the fight that Sasuke has to jump in and nearly die to save, to just dogging on Haku and like winning in a one-sided stomp. So I think that Choji should be, bare minimum, if you're charitable to him, equal to, if not slightly stronger than Naruto. So if you don't think that the QB mode, whatever, it's not like a cloak, but you guys know what we mean, right? Like the QB mode that Naruto goes into, if you don't think that it's a 100 times boost, which would be crazy if it was, right, then Choji would probably win, and by a bigger margin too, if his butterfly mode lasts for as long as Naruto's Nine Tails mode does, which I don't know if it would. It's unclear. So maybe Haku would be able to live, because Haku was taking like full power like rage hits from, like, Naruto was trying to kill Haku and Haku was living these attacks. So like maybe he'd be able to outlast and then go help Asuma. Like Choji's performance here, I think, like if Shikamaru's shadow possession reflection thing doesn't work, is what's going to determine the outcome of this.
I entirely agree. And there is a factor to this, to where like, okay, like you could also like look at it like, how willing is Choji to use some of these? Because like it might actually just destroy the bridge as well. Like the bridge they're trying to protect, and the bridge like being built is like the hope and salvation of the place like they're trying to defend. So there is a level to this where like, okay, would he even do this? But because we were talking about like, would Choji just slam his fist down on the bridge, or what would he do?
Like the shockwave blows up all the mirrors. It would be so cool.
On his Tsunade shit, like just destroying everything. So we don't see that happening, but it's I think pretty much clear clear cut we could see is like he should be able to just shatter all the mirrors with this power. And something I will say too is like he's not gonna get the same benefit Naruto did with the QB coming out, that being his wounds being regenerative. So it's like you could also make a case like he also wouldn't just be able to last that long, like just like you said. So
yeah,
we you know, this one is really split. Like this is probably one of the most like the matchups like we're pretty much split on, just because Asuma versus Zabuza is kind of a split. And if like, I guess you could say we're being kind of charitable to Choji, but if you did take our charity and we gave
it's
him
a 100 times
you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it's like there's definitely a little
going Super Saiyan 2, bro.
bro, the theme music kicked in, bro. This is like not an insignificant feat. So you know, if you gotta go off that, you could maybe apply Choji. But there's there's just a lot of ways this could go. So we're kind of split on this one. Do you lean towards either direction, or are you kind of like?
So the way that we've talked about it so far is this is probably the only situation where this is the case, but I think it's a Haku dies and Zabuza lives situation, right? Where like Choji pops the red pill and like kills Haku, and then runs out of time and collapses from exhaustion from the red pill, and then it's like Shikamaru and Ino have to figure out a way to outsmart Zabuza after he like cuts down Asuma. Like maybe Asuma takes it, right? But I don't know. I think that you can pretty safely give it to the kids over Haku, just because like we have a pretty similar like dynamic here between, you know, like Choji and Shikamaru. They're like really tight best friends, and Choji has a secret massive power up his sleeve that's going to be like, you know, time limited. So I think that he'll be able to take Haku out, but Zabuza has a couple of advantages that put him over Asuma, where like Asuma won't be able to do Zabuza the way Kakashi did and just like beat him up and embarrass him, right? I think it's more likely that Asuma loses, but I could be wrong about that, because like TG said earlier, he does like just show up and kind of put the hands on Kisame. So like I don't know if he would have won a full fight. Is the thing. He probably wouldn't have, but you know, like Asuma's not bad. I just think that Zabuza has like the tools in his arsenal, like he's just a perfect counter.
I agree.
For Asuma here.
I lean towards Zabuza as well. Like just for everything you said, it's like, you know, they're close enough. It's like the matchup. You know, I definitely think he takes it. So I honestly like that's the Asuma versus like Team Asuma one. That one's a little crazy. Definitely a little crazy.
It's the most wild one for sure.
We're wilding out right now. So
the grade is weird because like the kids take out Haku, but like the team ultimately loses. So I don't want to give them an F because they put up a good fight, and Asuma could squeeze out a W against Zabuza. That's really all that needs to happen for this to be a total success. So I would go like C minus, maybe C, maybe C plus if I'm feeling really generous. But I'd probably lean like C minus, C, somewhere in that range, you know?
Yeah. I'd agree with that. Absolutely. Yeah. See, that range is honestly fine because, you know, if they fail the mission or there's a good chance of failing, it's just not a good grade.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Team Kurenai versus Zabuza and Haku. Now, this is a little weird to talk about. This is a little weird. I guess I'll start off with Kurenai. So, Kurenai versus Zabuza is a little weird since like Kurenai doesn't really have like any feats in the show, and it doesn't help that like unlike Guy or Asuma, she doesn't have those statements being like, oh, she's close to Kakashi. Nah, like maybe you could infer that off her Jonin rank. Like she should be impressive and have like a basic, you know, she should be strong in those, like generally speaking, which she probably is. But like it doesn't help that she's rather featless for most of the show. Her biggest feat is putting Itachi under Genjutsu and then him just reflecting it right back on her. And this is really the biggest point of contention when talking about Kurenai versus Zabuza is, okay, is she gonna place him under Genjutsu? And can he break out? We'll talk about this in a second. Actually, what do you have to say on this? Let me hear what you have to say on like this aspect. 'Cause this is probably like the biggest part, because it's like the only part to talk about for Kurenai.
Yeah. So the thing with Kurenai is that like her Genjutsu, it's pretty much a complete like wild card, right? Like we have no idea how effective it would be against somebody like Zabuza, because it's like it sucks for her that her only feat or like demonstration of her skills ever was against the best genjutsu user in the entire series before Six Paths stuff showed up, right?
Yeah.
Like there's 0 people who can even begin to contest with Itachi in terms of genjutsu prowess.
Yeah.
So it's like the fact that it didn't work on him it's not necessarily indicative of her genjutsu skill. And the other thing too is if you want to be like charitable to her, it did actually work on him. Like he didn't just completely shrug it off. The thing is, he was just able to use like a Sharingan hacks to flip it back on her.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess the thing is that he was still able to act under it. So it would like I don't know. The thing, like, you just can't link Itachi to Zabuza in terms of like genjutsu defense, right? Like they're not even in the same ballpark at all. So I think that it would work for sure. The question is if Zabuza would be able to bust himself out of it. Kurenai was by like biting her lip, and like drawing blood, able to break herself out of her own genjutsu. Maybe Zabuza would be able to do the same thing. I'm certain that he's dealt with genjutsu before as an experienced Jonin and one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. But like Kurenai might just like, I don't know. It's really hard to say. What we can say is that if Zabuza it like looks like he's in mortal danger, Haku will probably show up and snap him out of it.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I think that like Kurenai versus Zabuza is a pretty difficult fight to talk about with any level of certainty. But knowing that Haku's there and that none of the other members of Team Kurenai will really be able to do anything about him, I think that like there's no way that Kurenai is going to be able to 2v1 Zabuza and Haku.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's just no argument there because she doesn't have any feats. You could give her the benefit of the doubt and just say that Zabuza wouldn't be able to do anything about her genjutsu because, like, you know, he fell victim to Kakashi's Sharingan genjutsu the first time they fought.
Yeah.
He wasn't expecting it, to be fair to him, and it didn't really work on him the second time, but still, like, it worked on him at first. And if Kurenai's smart with it or disguises the fact that she's using genjutsu, maybe she does something clever by messing with his perception of the environment the same way that Sasuke did against Danzo. Maybe she could like make him make like a fatal mistake or something. But you know, the thing is, Haku's also there, so I just can't see Kurenai beating Zabuza before Haku notices that it's about to happen, and then beating both of them when Haku inevitably intervenes. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. And to add to that, like, there's a big consistency with genjutsu in part 1, and like breaking out of it via self-inflicted pain. Like Shikamaru even does that against Tayuya. And before someone brings this up, because someone always does, Tayuya's genjutsu here and Sage Mode Kabuto's are not the same thing. He literally is amping that genjutsu with like nature energy. Like it's a whole, like he has a whole nother tier of strength. So don't even try and like connect those two. So, you know, if you kind of go down that road, and the fact that like Zabuza, even like off him, like trying to take down Gato, doesn't really have a problem with like inflicting damage to himself or like taking blows. He doesn't even seem to care about Kakashi's dog. You could maybe make a case. But, you know, if you want to go back to it, like even the data book suggests like Kurenai's genjutsu isn't a joke. Like they even talk about like she even caught the mighty Itachi. Whichever way you slice it, Haku's just kind of the make it or break it here. And the fact that Haku is fast enough because he's able to intercept the Raikiri, and willing enough to leave the mirrors and his fight to go help Zabuza is all you really need to say for Zabuza to surefire not get taken out via genjutsu. That's pretty much the bottom line here. In which case, you know, it doesn't seem too good for Kurenai. And we also get into the Genin. Now, the Genin are a little weird to talk about, especially who goes into the ice mirror. We lean towards Hinata protecting Tazuna just off her being more conservative as a person. We can acknowledge like she could go in, but like we generally lean towards that, even around her teammates, or like when compared to like other fights, like against Gaara or somebody like that. Like she's the most conservative and the first one to like shake up and stuff like that. So you kind of have to look at who gets in the ice mirror first, which is like a little hard to say. If we assume they're both in the ice mirror, just for the sake of argument, just because we could stand here all day suggesting who goes in what. It's a little interesting, especially since you have Shino, right? Shino's really interesting. Shino's the GOAT in part 1. We were talking about
Yeah,
this. Like,
he's crazy, dude. He's so OP in part 1, bro. Like
Mr.
the
Baggett.
way he made a joke out of like he does the same thing to Zaku that curse mark amp Sasuke does to Zaku, but like with no curse mark, right? And it's not just with his bugs, you know, he's sitting there blocking Zaku's punches and stuff, you know, like giving him the hands too. So yeah, he's definitely strong. I think that it's weird that Kishimoto like wrote him out of the Sasuke retrieval arc, and like because Naruto says something about how like isn't Shino like strong?
God.
Isn't he the one that you would want to bring for a mission like this? And they were like, yeah, we all wanted to get him, but he was busy. Like you know they talk about Shino like he's that guy.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
He's definitely one of the like upper tier Genin of you know the Leaf Village around this point in the series. But like also he's fighting Haku. And he definitely wouldn't be, because like he would be doing his like weird bug things that like Haku wouldn't really have any point of reference for. I don't think he's getting that same level of internal respect or you know like personal connection from Haku that like I said with you know Shikamaru and Choji, like they didn't get it the same way that Sasuke and Neji would. So like I think that Haku's probably going to you know be close to full tilt when engaging Kiba and Shino. Kiba has no answer here. Like Kiba is just a non-factor. Kiba gets cooked. Shino might be able to leave a bug on Haku or something while Haku is traveling between the mirrors, but like
or before the mirrors go up, you know what I mean? Like
really that's the best shot that he has is like you know having one of those chakra consuming bugs planted on Haku before the mirrors go up. But like Haku is really, really fast. So it's like if it doesn't happen before that, I don't think I could see it happening. And if it doesn't happen, then Shino and Kiba just don't have any chance, right? It's basically all riding on whether or not Shino could sneak a bug onto Haku's body before the mirrors, and even then. I don't know if the bugs would be able to eat through Haku's chakra before Haku kills them. Especially like as soon as Haku identifies what's going on, it's just like a million Senbon are flying between the mirrors. They're done, and maybe Haku goes down as well. In that case, if Shino does it, and like you know, Haku gets KO'd or killed before Kurenai like drops the Genjutsu on Zabuza, then Kurenai might be able to win. But there are just too many maybes for me to give like a confident, you know, thumbs up to either of the parties here.
I agree. And it's even like bounce off a lot of stuff you said. Like even if you argue, because Shino does have some defenses, like he's kind of like Gaara, where like the bugs inside him and around him can like form a defense. Like you see this when like Kankuro shoots a knife at him, and it just like gets, or Zaku like smacks him point blank, and like he just gets up, he's fine, and you see like bugs are underneath his skin. Even if you argue like he could tank like the Senbon, at a certain point, like it's gonna start overwhelming him. Like he's not gonna, it's not even like Gaara's, like even Gaara's like sand defense, which is touted as higher, has limits to it. So we can only assume like the bugs that feast off Shino's chakra, once Shino runs out of chakra, like the bugs aren't gonna really be working for him as well. So, you know, there just isn't too much there. Kiba gets absolutely slaughtered. He lost to a Naruto who had his seal restricted by Orochimaru.
Yeah.
It's like, and you know, maybe you could argue, like, some people like to argue that Naruto was like mental amped because like Hokage, sure, whatever. But like, even then, like, he probably isn't stronger than the Naruto that went QB on the bridge, even with that. So, you know,
no way.
obviously. So it's like, you know, and it doesn't help that like Kiba as an individual is extremely arrogant, especially at that point in the series. So I don't think Haku would like see anything in him. Shino would stay quiet. In which case I think they get overwhelmed. This is probably one of those matchups where I see both sides, Zaku, Zabuza, and Haku coming out with the W, or I lean towards like both of them.
Yeah, I would probably give Team Kurenai like a D, just a flat D in terms of like success rate here. I think they could pull it out. Like it's not just a flat F. They're not absolutely guaranteed to lose or anything like that. But I think that it's more likely than not that Zabuza and Haku walk away from this, like, you know, like they kill Tazuna, they kill everybody there, and then they just, you know, go about doing whatever else afterwards, right? Like, I'm trying to think of any other potential win conditions for them, and they just don't exist.
Nah.
Yeah.
It's really bad. Yeah. So Team Kurenai does take that L. It's not Shino's fault. That's all we're saying. But that's all we're saying. That's all we're saying.
Yeah.
Next up, we have one of the 2 bonus rounds. These we're really excited to talk about. First up, we're gonna have the Sand Trio with Baki against Zabuza and Haku. Now, we gotta talk about Baki first. The disrespect on Baku's name is just like disgusting. I know you want to talk about this. Like this is just,
Yeah, look, bro. Look,
crazy.
the thing is, like, Baki is the strongest Jonin in the sand. Stated. That is a crazy ass title.
Yeah.
Like that's really, 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 really crazy. He's the strongest Jonin in the whole village. Okay, and like, you know, people have brought up to me before, like, didn't he get his attack blocked by Genma's toothpick? It's like, well, I guess Genma's just really strong too, bro. You know, like he was selected as one of the like 3 Hokage bodyguards. He knows how to do the flying Raijin formation. Like it's like a crazy jutsu, and like, yeah, I know he got beaten by the Sound 4, but it was all of the Sound 4 at once, and they were in CS2, and he was out of chakra completely because he was just coming back from another mission. It's not like Genma was like low on chakra or slightly exhausted. He was like all the way out, bro.
Gone.
And like chakra exhaustion is like it's like serious in Naruto. Like compare the scale of the attacks that Naruto and Sasuke are throwing at each other at the start of their final fight at the very end of the manga in the final valley to the end where they're just like throwing punches and stuff. And it's, I mean, like the effects of these punches aren't even as insane as the effects of some of the hits from when they fought as kids, right? You know, they're just like staying in place, and you know, like it's just so much more muted and like toned down because they're just low on chakra. They're not as strong as they are when they're at full tilt, right? And that's probably what Genma and the other Jonin with him were dealing with. And the fact that they were still able to like survive and pretty noticeably damage the members of the Sound Force, because they mention how they're fatigued and like kind of weakened after this because, you know, they just had to fight 2 Jonin. The fact that they were able to do that to them with no chakra isn't like, that's not impressive or anything. Like, you know, it's kind of crazy. So Baki is not like some ass tier fodder Jonin or anything like that. I don't think he's like Guy and probably not Kakashi level, but he's no joke, right? He would probably be able to put up a decent fight against Zabuza. Now, Zabuza's also one of the strongest Jonin from the Hidden Mist Village as one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the Mist, so he has a pretty similar accolade. But I know a lot of people are going to come in here expecting us to say that Baki gets stopped, and I actually think it's a fairly close fight, and neither of them have any like elemental advantages or anything like that. So I'd say it could go either way, probably.
I gotta add to this because it's like, you know, you even have like Baki like slaughtering Hayate, right? And it's like, okay, like if you really want to get into it, right? Like if you really want to get it there, Hayate, when he's brought back in like anime, I guess filler or canon as an Edo Tensei, is scrapping a little bit with Sakura at like during the war. It's like, okay, wait a minute, like is this really like what are we talking about here? So Baki does have some really good showings, like his wind blade. He just gets like the anime extends a little bit. He just hits Hayate with like the Virgil treatment, like 1,000 cuts instantly, judgment cut. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's not insignificant at any showing. And his wind blade is also like said to be like really impressive. And we were talking about like how this fight could have gone. There's a couple of different ways. One you could argue is that he does something to the effect he does to Hayate's, where like, so he's able to like kind of hold Hayate's like sword in place, like in his shoulder. And it's like, okay, if Zabuza is able to clash against Kakashi's like metal on his wrist and not able to slice through that and his hand, could you maybe argue he's able to like somewhat hold the Executioner's blade in place and kind of get that like that wind blade going through and just like slicing up Zabuza?
That's definitely possible. I mean, like the Executioner's blade is quite a bit stronger than Gecko's sword. You know, it's like huge, so he probably wouldn't want to take a direct hit from it. You know, like maybe it would like go through the wind blade or whatever, right? But I think that like generally speaking, you know, Baki has some win conditions. Like, you know, he could cut Zabuza into 1,000,000 pieces, like you said, with the Virgil level 1, or he could, like, you know, like Zabuza could end up cutting him in half or whatever, right? Like, I think that it's like fair to say that either one of them takes it. But the thing is, it doesn't really matter because of what's going on with Haku. Poor Haku, because Gaara is going to step up because Gaara's
man.
bloodthirsty. Gaara's going to step up and fight Haku, and poor Haku has to deal with the worst matchup of his entire life here because he can't hit Gaara. He's going to surround him with the ice mirrors, and the sand's just going to block all of the hits.
Yeah. It's not good. It's like, if you remember Gaara in the forest, it's literally going to be a repeat of that. There's no reason to suggest Haku would be able to like break through the sand. There's no like, he doesn't have like any substantial like real potency showing. Like they're needles. They're needles plus ice needles. Just not. There's nothing there. Maybe you could argue like he breaks one of size ink birds, but like, when have size ink birds ever been durable to like tank anything? Never once. So
yeah,
there's nothing there. And something I will suggest as well is like, even if he did get through Gaara's like automatic sand, there's nothing to suggest it would be potent enough to break through his like the sand on him that he holds together with his chakra that like gatedly couldn't break through. Like there's no way you can argue that he breaks through either of that. In which case, like, it's really just Gaara gets free reign to kind of do all these crazy things with this sand. He could cover the whole dome in sand, all this crazy stuff. And this isn't even talking about if, like let's be extra charitable to Haku and say, like, okay, he's pressing Gaara. Once Shikaku comes out, it's over. It's just over.
It's a complete wrap, bro. Like, if Gaara gets blood drawn from him at all and starts, like, screaming and, like, puts himself in the sand bubble and like starts doing the Shukaku ritual, it's so lights out for Haku, bro. Like, if you want to be charitable to Haku and say that Haku's just gonna blitz Gaara because, you know, like light speed is like too crazy, and like, you know, he'd be faster than Lee and like, you know, like move too fast for the sand to protect Gaara, sure, I guess. We don't really know how strong the Senbon are, though. I think it would be insane to say that it would just go straight through Gaara's sand armor that he keeps on himself.
Outlandish.
And like, again, if he does, Gaara's gonna get blood drawn and transform into Shukaku, and Haku's not that. Haku is not fighting Shukaku at all. Okay, Shukaku's gonna like. I mean, I guess that they're gonna get a mission failure for blowing up the bridge, but Gaara doesn't give a shit. You know, like Baki would probably be like, "Oh fuck, we're not gonna get paid for this."
What happened? Like, how did this happen? He's gonna catch the needles in his arm and send them back and have them catch on fire. It's gonna be crazy.
And then, you know, once Haku's dealt with, Gaara is gonna go back up Baki and help him take on Zabuza. So like, it's just
and this isn't even I'm talking about any of the like, you know, Kankuro does I don't think matters too much in this matchup. He doesn't really do too much. You know, you could argue maybe he like clouds up poison, but like the way Tamari and Kankuro kind of function with Gaara, when he's fighting, they're just backed up. They don't want none of that because Gaara does not care about them at this point in the story. But if we do include Tamari for whatever reason, you could also argue she blows away Zabuza's mist to like back up Baki. Like she could do that just kind of how she did with Tuyuya's Genjutsu. In which case that mitigates probably Zabuza's biggest win con at that point. You can maybe argue like she even I don't even argue she'd support Gaara, because like she just wouldn't get in his way, like they really wouldn't. So Gaara himself is enough to take on. Kankuro and Tamari could offer support if need be, but realistically, like, because Baki and Zabuza is kind of close and Gaara versus Haku really isn't, there's just too much of a difference. In which case, like, if all three like Sand Genin team up with Baki and like the fight's still going on, it's like, what do you do? It's over. The fight ends. Like, there's no real way to say Zabuza is taking on Gaara, Tamari, and Kankuro and Baki. It's just not feasible. So we do think the Sand team do come away with a pretty confident W. What do you grade this?
I would probably say, just because there's a chance that maybe Baki would die, same thing as the Team Guy grade, like B+, A-, because you know, like where Guy just had Zabuza on lock, but Lee and Neji were in a little bit of danger and might get killed. It's kind of the same thing here, but in reverse, where Gaara absolutely just pounds Haku, and maybe Baki gets killed by Zabuza or something, but it's not particularly likely. It's definitely not more likely than not. Or anything like that. Like it's like 50-50 either way, probably. But like you said, you also have Tamari and Kankuro who will probably be supporting him. So I'd lean more towards Baki taking the W. So I might even up it to just a strict A. But you know, like something in that range, right? Like A- A for this team. Haku just can't do anything to Gaara.
It's over. Sand burial victims all around. But all around. So we see that fight going that way. And last up, we actually have the sound Genin. Now, if we wanted to make this like boring and a stomp, we could have just gave them Orochimaru as their Jonin Proctor, which you kind of like.
And, you know, obviously, like, even if Orochimaru is doing like the undercover, I think she was a woman from the grass village that Orochimaru was using the body of.
Yeah.
Then, like, you know, like, yeah, Zabuza can't do anything about that, of course. But like, what we think would be more interesting is if we said that Kabuto was leading them, and for whatever reason, the Sound Village took this mission to help protect Tazuna so they could finish building the bridge or whatever, right? Like, just go along with it because the fight is interesting. We think both of us we're in agreement that the Genin probably don't really do anything to Haku at all. The more interesting question is Kabuto versus Zabuza. And okay, we're both Kabuto defenders here, so if you want to go ahead and, you know, start off explaining why this is just not good for Zabuza at all, you can.
The GOAT, bro. So Kabuto in part 1 is like ballistic. He's an animal.
Yeah.
He is like pretty much he's like commonly compared to Kakashi. And we're gonna talk about who makes those comparisons in 1 second, right? But you need to understand that he's also being compared consistently to Kakashi, who's been training from his rusty self that had fought Zabuza. So he's already like coming up well because he's being like, he's interchangeable with the stronger version of a character that just straight up beat Zabuza twice. But on top of that, right? Like, he has Orochimaru who like is spitting on his name and like is offering to kill, like threatening to kill him. He's like, yeah, I guess you're Kakashi level. Like, I don't really know. Like, why don't try me. Which is like, okay, all right. That's, you know, maybe he's just kind of spinning. But then you have Jiraiya, who's like his enemy, and he's like, listen, Naruto, you're not gonna beat Kabuto. He's Kakashi level. And it's like, okay. At what point are we like, this guy is kind of strong? And you even see this off like the little scuffle he has with Kakashi in part 1. Like, he almost like intellectually like plays Kakashi a little bit. We'll talk about this a little bit more later, but he's like, his intellect here is just something else entirely too. One of the top tiers in the verse. What do you got to say about Kabuto, Mr. GOAT?
So, if Kabuto has those like Freud pills that he popped when he fought Tsunade, Zabuza is done, bro. Because look, the thing with the Tsunade fight is it wasn't straightforward. Tsunade was nerfed pretty substantially by her fear of blood that she had to get over by the end. And then by then she was just beating up armless Orochimaru and stuff. But like, you know, it's still like Tsunade's strong. And you know, she tags him multiple times and he's fine. And, like, the crazy thing that I like, okay, Zabuza's biggest advantage in all of these fights has been silent killing and the hidden mist, right? Because a lot of people aren't properly equipped to deal with that. But I would argue for Kabuto that he got his nervous system fucked with by Tsunade's like electric medical jutsu, where you know, his brain was sending signals to different parts of his body than he wanted. So like his controls, like, they weren't like inverted. It was like the way I described it before we started recording was R1 was like up on the control stick, and you know, you got like stuff like that, right? That he has to figure out and adapt to, and then he just does on the spot. You know, like that's that's crazy. It's really difficult to like, if you play fighting games, you know how weird it would be to adjust to having your controls completely switched up on you, like right before a set. And Kabuto is fighting Tsunade, the future 5th Hokage, and it's just like, you know, like that. And
it's like going for like it's like going for a down smash in Smash Bros and you jump. It's like, it's so like we can't describe it because it's so outlandish, but he does it, which is just so like like after like a couple movements, he's like, all right, I gotta figure it out, which is just like, it's it's so crazy. Like, I'm struggling to find the words, but you described it well. Like, if you play fighting games, you get that metaphor completely. But continue, please.
Yeah, and so I don't think a little bit of mist is going to I shouldn't say, okay, that's disingenuous. I'll be nicer to Zabuza. I don't think a thick veil of mist like the kind that Zabuza is going to be able to put around him is going to be more of a barrier to his success than what he dealt with fighting against Tsunade. I just don't think there's any way, right? Because like it's like, you know, like, your sight is important, right? But so is the ability to move properly. His actual like his brain, like the commands he was sending to his body, like, that was impaired. I just feel like that's a much bigger handicap than, you know, not being able to see Zabuza. And again, Kakashi was able to fight inside of it. Granted, he has like a Sharingan, but he still wasn't able to like see Zabuza super well, even with the Sharingan. So I think Kabuto's fine. And like if Zabuza gets touched, that's over, right? Like for him, because it's not like Kabuto has crazy ass AP feats or anything at this point in the story. But it's that he'll do internal damage to Zabuza, like disable his limbs, make him drop his sword, or maybe just straight up stop his heart by tapping it with his chakra scalpel or a medical ninjutsu. So any contact with Kabuto is just instant death for Zabuza. I don't see Zabuza winning this.
I'm gonna add to this too, because I fully agree. I've always been I did a video like 2 years ago on this exact topic, but I still stand by it. It's something else to add to this is that Kabuto's regen is not a joke. He could also make a case like he would be able to regen any minor blows. I'm not saying he's getting severed in half and coming back. That's not the case, but you have to look at the fact that Naruto hit him with the Rasengan, did all this internal damage, and he still was able to get back up from it. And then he also was able to still like need chakra and summon Manda for Orochimaru. So it's like, okay, this guy can take damage. Like, it's absurd. So, you know, if you gotta look at it like that, like he just, and plus like he's all these like factors that we previously listed, it just doesn't seem too likely for Zabuza. Along with like all the implications about where Kabuto lies in his strength, on top of like showing better intelligence feats, all the countering Zabuza a little bit. He just, you know, he should be able to win after with all this in mind. It's just ridiculous. And then like Haku versus, you know, this sound trio is just kind of a stomp. I will say, you know, it is a little interesting if you maybe give Kin like her genjutsu that she displays in the anime, because she doesn't show that in the manga. Then maybe she could catch Haku, but you know, how we kind of have to ask ourselves, like, if these Jonin or like sound level ninja are able to like cast genjutsu that's able to get broken out of via physical pain or something to that extent, how potent can Genin level genjutsu really be? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to just downplay it and dismiss it, but like there is a big jump, so I don't think that would necessarily be the biggest win con. In which case, like Zaku, you know, even if you argue that he like could push away like Haku's needles, Haku's just such a speed tier above that it's going to be like Curse Mark Sasuke versus Zaku again. And then Dosu, like, we brought this up too, like, because Dosu's very smart, but we're going to talk about that in a second. The sound ninja don't care about each other. Like, they actually, like, actively, like, do not care if anybody on their team does not die. You see this when Ino takes over Kin's body. They're like, do it. With no balls, do it. Just slit the throat. What's up? Call it. Call the bluff. So there is interesting something to know as well, that there would be no chance for like Haku to like see their character or anything like that, which is obvious. But I also, the reason this matters is because like even Dosu, who I don't even think would be in the Ice Mares due to how analytical he is and how smart of a fighter he is. Like when he sees Dosu's self-power scales a lot. Like he sees that Sasuke is stronger. He's like, all right, we're out later. And then he also waits for Gaara to go to sleep because he doesn't want to take him on at full strength. Obviously, that didn't work out, but you know, he tried it. So, you know, he definitely wouldn't go in to offer support in that case. But even if you argue then, it's not like he makes the difference. But he would honestly just wait for the Zaku and Kin, if they were in there, to just get clipped up. So, you know, the Sound Ninja don't really have too much. The speed disparity is a little too much. None of their attacks are really going to be hitting. And yeah, so I don't know if you want to add to that. It just seems like kind of, you know.
No, yeah, whoever goes in that like 1v1 with Haku I don't even know if the Ice Mirrors go up, to be completely honest. Like I think Zaku might try to clash with well, no, that's not true, because, you know, the Sound Ninja were messing Lee up pretty bad, and Lee beat up Sasuke, who was able to clash with Haku. So Haku probably will put the mirrors up. But like after that, it's just over. Like Zaku's not doing anything to Haku, you know. Kin probably not either, especially if you don't. I think we should, but especially if you don't give her her genjutsu, then she's just like a senbon thrower who like, you know, like Haku's that with ice mirrors that he can travel between like at the speed of light. So it's just nobody, like none of the Sound Genin are going to be able to do anything to Haku. It's really just on Kabuto to backpack the whole mission. I think Kabuto can do it, but whoever goes to fight Haku is dead.
I'll put it like this. This is the only way I can give it to Haku. This is literally the only way. I'm going to be like the most charitable. The only way you could even like argue they have somewhat of a chance against Haku is if Dosu tries to fight him first and does like that sound-based attack from his gauntlet that was like blowing Lee's like eardrums out and stuff like that. And then maybe they disorient Haku. but that's like charitable, and that's like ignoring a lot
Yeah.
of stuff. So it's just not likely. Like, and you'd be disingenuous to say like, oh, like they really had a chance against Haku. In which case, like, it kind of falls on like Kabuto versus Haku, which I think is actually an extremely interesting discussion. It's a little weird to talk about almost, but I definitely think it's the type of thing like, if Kabuto was messing Zabuza up, he would force Haku out of the ice mirror and into a similar position with Raikiri with his chakra blade. I kind of see something like that going down, because it seems very likely that Zabuza or Haku would just kind of like intervene, or maybe even sacrifice himself, because he doesn't really view himself in high regard. He really just sees himself as like a tool for Zabuza's use. Like, his life doesn't really mean too much of him. What's your opinion on this? It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think what would happen is Kabuto would set up for the killing blow, and then Haku would come and like shield Zabuza, and then Kabuto would just kill Zabuza after that.
Yeah.
If that's not what happens, and let's say that Kabuto deals with Zabuza and then has to fight Haku one-on-one straight up, this is more interesting because, you know, like, Haku is fast. The Zabuza compares Haku's like ninja skills to his own, says that Haku might be even stronger than he is. So if Haku's going all out, Kabuto could be in trouble. It won't be like an easy win for him. The thing is, like we talked about earlier, Kabuto has his regen ninjutsu that he can cast to like self-heal and stuff.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of chakra for Haku to keep those ice mirrors up. So I think what would happen in this fight is, especially if Kabuto doesn't take the pills until he starts fighting Haku, I think that Kabuto will just outlast Haku in a war of attrition. You know, keep himself at basically max HP, ration his chakra intelligently so that, you know, he's able to keep going and just outlast Haku until Haku doesn't have any chakra left, and Kabuto is just able to clean him up at the end.
Yeah, I fully agree. What do you grade the Sound Ninja like on terms of like their ability to pass this mission? Because it's a little interesting, but generally we see, you know, the Genin don't really have a chance. It kind of falls on Kabuto. We think Kabuto takes that confident W. In which case, like, how the fight progresses, we can argue is like a little bit on interpretation based, but like on their ability to pass, like, what are you feeling?
Think it's probably like a B-, maybe like a C+, because the Genin have no chance
Negative
whatsoever. But Kabuto is just, he's gonna like clap Zabuza up, and I don't think that Haku would be much of a threat to him either.
Yeah, I fully agree. So that's the video. Those are the matchups. Honestly, like, you could even slice these a couple different ways depending on like if you were writing the story and like had these characters introduce different situations. But these are our general thoughts on each matchups. Thank you to Swag for coming over on the channel and like recording this. It was really really nice of him. The video came out great. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you want to add?
I think that this went pretty much as I expected. It wasn't an exact 50-50 split. I think it was Zabuza and Haku took 2 and lost 3.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're pretty solid as a pair. But, you know, I think the Jonin that they lose to, or I guess in the Sand Village's case, the Genin that they lose to, they're just kind of like, they're not like Guy is the definition of built different.
Yeah.
Gaara is a Jinchuriki. And Kabuto is compared to Kakashi routinely, and Kakashi like beat Zabuza. So I think that it's just like, it's not necessarily that like Zabuza and Haku are ass. It's just that these other Jonin, or Gaara in his case, are just really, 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 really strong.
Yeah, I fully agree. It's just like that's the natural progression of the story. You're just introduced to more Jonin who are compared to someone like as Kakashi, who just got stronger. It's just kind of how it goes. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, go sure to check out Swag for some reason. If you're not, sub to him already. But anyway, catch you next time. Bye.